Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tip of the Ice-Burgh podcast, your home for Pittsburgh Penguins news and analysis. I'm your host, Nick Belsky, joined this week by the returning Nick Horwat as we get set for the Pittsburgh Penguins 2025-26 season. We got a heck of a lot to get into today as we transition from preseason hockey, and I can't believe I'm saying this, to the beginning of the regular season from the time of this recording, just under 48 hours away from puck drop between the Penguins and Mike Sullivan's New York Rangers. So Horwat, welcome back onto the show and welcome back to hockey season because it is here. It is October and opening day, like I said, under 2 days away.
It's exciting to see it all back. The NHL schedule makers couldn't have designed it better themselves for Penguins up against Mike Sullivan right away. Rip the Band-Aid off of the whole playing against your old team situation with the Penguins and Rangers. It's not in Pittsburgh, so there's not the tribute video, but hey, it's still...
We'll get that 2 days later, or
exactly.
2 games later.
And then it's just right around the corner. So it's...
Yeah.
That's a good little start to the season. Get those warm, mushy feelings out of the way, because if you ask anyone within the Penguins organization or Sidney Crosby from Amazon, he still has a drive to win, and he still wants to do that. So we'll see how much winning he does. It won't be much, but hey.
You know, like he said, if the Penguins still think he's a valuable piece to that, right? You know, that quote there, it was a peak Sidney Crosby being as humble as he can, considering he's still one of the 10 best players in all of hockey. And even if he wasn't, I think the Penguins would still find him a pretty valuable piece to the organization. That was an interesting episode, by the way. You don't get much of a behind the scenes look at Sidney Crosby often, but the one thing we got out of that I will probably take with me, the only thing that I'll take with me from that episode of the Amazon series, is the man is more of a psychopath than we thought. The pictures of the captains in his home gym, and Nathan MacKinnon in his home gym, that's I never would have imagined that, but it makes too much sense that that's what he does.
I'm not shocked at it. I might be pulling something out of thin air. I vaguely remember hearing about that before in a different video thing that he had done.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the Amazon episode started and I saw the doc and his gym, and I immediately thought, I've seen this all before. This is all a familiar thing that he's done before with some company or with some video crew or whatever it may have been.
Yeah.
So it looked familiar, and I think he had talked about the pictures thing before. I also may have pulled that out of thin air, but I've definitely seen that doc in that workout room before. So some of it was new, some of it wasn't.
Yeah, the doc is infamous or famous or whatever you want to call it, but the doc has been seen. I'm not sure. I've never seen the pictures, but now we have. And if you don't know what we're talking about, because not everybody is freaks like us and immediately watch everything that comes out the first day, there's a new Amazon series, season 2 of Face Off inside the NHL, and episode 3 of season 2 is revolving around the Kings, Anze Kopitar, and of course, Pittsburgh Penguins captain Sidney Crosby, with a little bit of Ovechkin, a little bit of Quentin Byfield. I don't know. Again, they probably didn't get enough from Crosby to be able to fill half an episode, because
he's not going to give you much. I don't think he gave them much to work with. And for what it's worth, it's the only episode I've watched so far. So I still have to dig into the rest of it to really see if that's how the rest of the series is paced, because it was awkward pacing. If that's also all the time they gave to Ovechkin's record-breaking goal, hilarious, because the NHL took all of that spotlight then.
Yeah, 100%. But let's turn the page and talk a little bit about this upcoming season and less about a documentary that came out. I'm excited to watch the rest of it because season 1 was entertaining. But let's talk a little bit about what's happened over the weekend. Final rosters for NHL teams are due by 5 p.m. on Monday afternoon. So if you're listening to this, they're due today by 5 p.m. But the Penguins and Kyle Dubas, well, they're the good student. They handed in their homework a couple days in advance. This from their X account a few days ago. Quote, the following players have been assigned to AHL Wilkes-Barre Scranton training camp: Tristan Brose, Avery Hayes, Sergei Murashov, and Owen Pickering. Also, Alexander Alexiev, Ryan Graves, Raphael Harvey-Pinard, Boko Imama, and Sam Poulin will be placed on waivers at 2 p.m. and will be assigned to Wilkes-Barre pending clearance. And then the last little note on this tweet was forward Robbie Fabry has been released from his PTO. And I reposted this and said, there's a lot to take in on this one. They just said, you know what? We're not going to wait. We're going to make all the roster moves right now. And of course, this was a couple days ago. As we move forward, they all cleared waivers and they were all sent down to the American Hockey League. But what that does is it sets up the Penguins' 23-man roster. There are some injuries that clearly affected the 23 men that are going to be walking in to Madison Square Garden on Tuesday. But of the 23, there are 3 rookies: Ville Koivunen, Harrison Brunicke, and Ben Kindel. Very interesting that those 3 were able to make it. I think Koivunen, we can touch on him really quickly. From the moment training camp started, it felt like it was destined that Ville Koivunen has a spot on this roster. It's in pen. There's no doubt about it. The only question was, where is he going to be playing on opening night?
Yeah, it seemed pretty clear, heck, at the end of last season almost, too.
Yeah.
He was just on a good roll, on a good run. And when you get that kind of momentum to take into the offseason, of course, you have the risk of losing that sort of pace. But he didn't lose a step, it appeared. Going into camp really well, and then going through the preseason and hitting all the right notes, he just wouldn't lose his spot. He didn't lose grip. And that's sort of what the Penguins need from their youngsters, especially when there's all that time off. And like you said, Koivunen was able to maintain that pace, maintain that positioning, and not lose the spot that going into the offseason, going into this season, could have been up in the air, but he proved why it's his, and it was his to lose, and he didn't. And that's a very good thing for everyone involved.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what Ville Koivunen's able to do this year. I don't think that he's somebody who has to fight to keep his roster spot any more than anybody else, right? Obviously, we've seen a couple of veterans that were on that list that got sent down. We saw Dan Heinen have to go through waivers and get sent down. So nobody's, with the exception of the obvious few, nobody is really set in stone at the NHL level, but it feels like Ville Koivunen's got a lot of rope right now. Like he's got a long leash going into this season. I'm excited to see what he does with it. And obviously we'll mention him a little bit, or at least I'll mention him a little bit as we finish off the show with the Pens predictions. But the other 2 names have made headlines. Harrison Brunicke, 18 years old, 2024 second round pick, and Ben Kindel, also 18 years old, 2025 first round pick, both making the team out of camp for the very first time in their careers, obviously, when you're that young. And let me ask you this, Horwat, before we talk about each of them individually. Do you remember who the last 3 players are to get this 9-game tryout that everybody's talking about with both Brunicke and Kindel?
Well, Rutger McGroarty, technically.
I mean, he could have gone to the AHL. That's what I mean. The 9-game tryout is
right.
What's the best way to say this? The way I'm saying, trying to look at the last 3 is the players that had to get that 9 games
or go to their junior team.
Or go to junior team.
Yes.
I mean, they can stay beyond that, but then you just automatically start to burn that first year of the ELC.
Right. Okay. Oh, goodness. Is one of them Daniel Sprong?
The last one is Daniel Sprong. 2015. One. He played 18 games before he was sent back down to the juniors, which means the Penguins did end up burning his first year of an ELC, where he played the majority of the year in the CHL.
Yeah. And that was a decade ago.
That's the last time something like this has happened. So the fact that it's happened with 2 different players, it makes it even more crazy.
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. Is one of them Sidney Crosby too?
It is not Sidney Crosby.
Okay. Because that would be nuts if we're going 2 decades and one of these 3 is that.
Yeah, you got the most recent one. There's 2 more between when Sidney Crosby came into the league and Daniel Sprong, who was somebody that I feel like I have to mention was your guy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Also thinking that was a decade ago, and I think he's pretty much burned through his whole career already is also nuts.
His hairline has stayed exactly where it was, though, since he was 18.
You did not have to do that to him. Give me the last 2 because I don't want to sit here and try and think of names. They're just not going to come to me.
Fair enough. Oli Mata in 2013. He ended up staying the whole season, playing 78 games, and he himself has had a very good career over the last decade and plus. And then Jordan Staal, back in 2006 at 18 years old. He stayed all season long and scored 29 goals as a rookie. And of course, we'll talk about people who have forged great career paths since this has happened. Jordan Staal has probably put himself in the Hall of Very Good, I would have to imagine.
Yes. Yeah. And you know
Still
what?
very durable and still very good at producing at this age.
2 decades and almost, and there's still 3, 4 names. Hilarious. So this rarely happens for the Penguins, and seeing two is quite entertaining. And um, another note of just how Kyle Dubas is building this team and
Mhm.
starting to really gear toward that future.
Let's talk about the most surprising one because Harrison Brunicke, there was this conversation last year of could he earn the 9-game sample, and it ultimately didn't happen, and he went back to Kamloops. But the conversation was there around him. So let's put him on the back burner for the
Mhm.
moment. Ben Kindel, I did not see him coming in and performing as well as he has through training camp. And I certainly didn't expect him to get this opportunity. Now, we have to mention there is a couple players that are injured, which probably opened the door for him to get this chance. Brian Russ starts the season injured. Rucker McGroarty starts the season injured. Kevin Hayes, you'd have to imagine, would be on the 23-man roster, starts the season injured. So it opens up the door for Ben Kindel, but he also had to push through it. He had to walk through the door, and he did just that with his performance through training camp and through the preseason games.
Yeah, injuries or not, you have to take advantage of the opportunities that you're being given. And it's kind of fascinating seeing that the Penguins had that early first round pick and everyone was throwing out all these names that they think Kyle Dubas should go after, that it would be good for the team, good for the future. And he went off the board, went with Ben Kindel.
Mhm.
Not only did Kyle Dubas go off the board with this kid, now he's making the team out of camp right away. So the Penguins think very highly of this player over some of the options that they could have had that would have not made more sense to make the opening night roster, but at the time you would have predicted as a higher opportunity or a higher chance to do so. And
Mhm.
here Ben Kindel is proving himself again. Yes, injuries. So what? Injuries happen all the time. Maybe if he plays well in these 9 games, and in game 9 another one happens, well, now he's staying
Well,
through. Again, that's tough, and
yeah.
you start to really look at you really have to start considering the ins and outs of burning a contract,
Mhm.
but he's earned his right and he's earned his opportunity to really cement himself and start to really pave a path for himself in the NHL. I'm fascinated to see what he can do with it. It's
Yeah.
going to be quite entertaining, and he could all of a sudden really make leaps in the Penguins prospect pool and
Mm.
jumping those rankings.
I mean, he's already near the top of those rankings. I
But
think
jumping more, yeah.
you can argue that he's number 1, but I think you're in an argument between him, probably Harrison Brunicke, and Rucker McGroarty. But again, right now you're probably splitting hairs because he is I mean, not only does he have that offensive upside, but the kid is great in the defensive zone already and at the age of 18. So the fact that he's going to start the season likely as the Penguins third line center, Horwat, how many years since now assistant coach Nick Bonino left the organization have we been saying the Penguins still don't know who their third line center is? The Penguins need to find a third line center. And now this kid who was drafted literally less than 4 months ago is going to walk into Madison Square Garden on opening night and center a line of himself, Tommy Novak, and Phil Tomasino. Like that, I look at that third line, I'm like, all right, we could do some good things
Yeah.
with that third line. So I'm very excited that he's able to keep this opportunity. And honestly, the big thing that this shows to me is that the Penguins and all the reports coming out from outlets such as The Athletic and Josh Yohe, where they said, we are going to go young. Every time I heard that this summer, I was like, okay, but like, are you you still have guys like Danton Heinen who you just acquired and you think you'd like to get his value up so you could flip him. I mean, that's what they did all last season. That's what you kind of expected. Like, okay, yeah, you hired the prospect head coach, per se. Dan Muse is probably more than that. Not probably, definitely more than that. But that's kind of the thought process around Dan Muse. But you still say, okay, how young are they really going to go? Well, two 18-year-olds, including a guy who, when those reports started coming out, wasn't even part of the organization. So
Yeah.
I think for a season that a lot of people expected to go into it with low expectations, this is just something that brings a lot of excitement as they kick things off.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I am excited to finally see the Penguins going toward the youth direction. Yeah, they kind of been inching toward it the last couple seasons. We
Mhm.
saw Rucker McGroarty make the team out of camp for a couple games last year, or him and Koivunen at the end of last season, or Blomqvist getting more looks at the NHL level. Like they started inching toward it in the last few seasons, but this year it seems they're gonna try their best to go full force toward. Again, there's Ben Kindel, Harrison Brunicke, McGroarty's hurt. I mean, when he gets healthy, I bet he finds a roster spot somewhere. I mean, we've also already seen them put Ryan Graves and Dan Heinen on waivers. They're not afraid to send these NHL level players, air quotes everywhere, to the AHL.
Yeah.
So and I think there's a quote somewhere from a few months ago of someone saying, or even a few weeks ago, even if they're younger, if they are meant for the team, they will make the team, essentially, in so many words. And that's exactly what's happening. Regardless of their age or where they are, they're going to make the NHL.
Yeah. Kyle, that was kind of, I wouldn't say verbatim. That is, paraphrasing, but that's what Kyle Dubas said in his introductory press conference. Like veterans, rookies, we're taking the players that perform the best over the next 3 weeks, and they're going to make the opening night roster. And he was true to his word. And that's something that if you're a Penguins fan, you haven't seen. But also, I think part of that is you haven't seen this many prospects this close to being NHL ready, and it's exciting. Speaking of NHL ready, Harrison Brunicke at 18 years old is insanely talented. And when I talk about whether or not these players can make it past that 9 games, activate their first year of their ELC, and stick in Pittsburgh for longer term, Harrison Brunicke is set up to do just that. He is poised in both zones. He can move the puck well, as he showed in the final preseason game where he scored an absolutely ridiculous goal against the Buffalo Sabres. I am extremely impressed with Harrison Brunicke, and honestly, of the two of them, he is the more likely to be able to pull an Oli Mata, if you will, to play damn near the entire season and be good enough to say, hey, it's not a liability. In fact, it's great that he's here and he's elevating a Penguins defense that would be sorely missing him in that spot if he had not made the strides that he did throughout this offseason.
Yeah, what was it, Josh Yohe that tweeted he might be the best defenseman on the team right now?
Yes.
And he just might be, because every time he's on the ice, he seems to be maybe not proving that statement exactly, but gearing himself into the right direction.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent level of the Penguins defense right now isn't phenomenal, but I mean, if he's outplaying names like Crystal Tang and Erik Karlsson and Ryan Graves, if you really wanted to, like Matt Dumba, if you really wanted to, who I just remembered was on this team, then you know what? Good for him. And he's clearly deserving of this spot and this chance. And yeah, I firmly believe he will make it past the 9 games just because of the hype that he's getting and that he's proving every second of it.
And here's the thing too, and I don't want to take anything away from what Ben Kindel has accomplished this preseason. It is startling to see a player play up to the level that he has already and be able to make this roster. But there is the asterisk of he made the roster with Brian Rust and Rutger McGroarty and Kevin Hayes hurt. Meanwhile, Harrison Brunicke had to fight through a lot of layers of veterans to be able to get himself this opportunity. You mentioned Matt Dumba, you mentioned Erik Karlsson, you mentioned Chris Letang. It's a very stacked right side, whether that's players that are playing great or just veterans that demand opportunity. Harrison Brunicke has put his name in the mix there, beating out probably a guy like Matt Dumba to play on that right side on the third pairing, beating a guy that's played a lot of NHL hockey in Connor Clifton as well. So you have to really just look at Brunicke and understand that this kid is not here just for a cup of coffee. I don't think he is. Now, I could ask you this question, but I think we've already answered it. Do you think either of these players could last the full 82, barring injury, of course, but do you think outside of Brunicke, I've made my thoughts clear on him. Do you think one of Brunicke and or both Brunicke and Kindel could actually stick it out this entire season?
I think there's a good chance that at least Brunicke could. Like I said, I just think he continues to prove that he can take these NHL lumps day in and day out. And one thing that really gives him the benefit, you mentioned, he's playing on the right side and he has to play through veterans on the right side. Dan Muse also said, I don't care what handedness they are on the blue line. If they can play in the NHL, they're going to play, and I'm going to stick them on the left side. He'll play them wherever they're comfortable.
Yeah.
And if that involves going to the other side of the ice, then they're going to do it. And
I believe it's Matt Dumba that's playing opposite side to play with Brunicke.
Then heck yes. Because again, it's that cycle of wherever you're playing comfortably and
Mhm.
succeeding, and we're not tying things down to one side or the other. It's hard
Mhm.
lines like that, like Mike Sullivan would do very often. Those hard lines are gone. Sure, it's a bit of an experimental phase for the Penguins, especially in this era of they're not going to win a ton of games, but we're going to see what we have out of these young guys
Mhm.
on a comfortable side of the ice, on maybe an uncomfortable side of the ice to build it and to improve and get better for what should be a very successful future.
Mhm.
I'm excited to see Brunicke play 82. That's
Yeah.
just me.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. I think Brunicke sticks around. Kindel, again,
That was tougher, but
you can squint and see how they could maybe make it work. You know, they have 8 defensemen on the roster to start the season. So if one of those forwards comes back, maybe Shea or Clifton goes down, maybe Nola Chari. I don't know. They've already sent Ryan Graves down.
yeah,
I feel like that's, Ryan Graves and Danton Heinen, let's not forget. So I feel like,
yeah.
adding a Chari to that list would be eh, kind of exaggerating what we expect here, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting, and I'm excited to see what Kindle has to offer. And even if he does go back, but get that 9-game sample size, I think it's great experience for him. I think it's great to kind of showcase a little bit of what the future might hold. And it's the same thing as Sergei Murashov going down. He is going to be really good for this organization, but you just have to be a little bit patient. It'd be nice if we could call all of our big guns up, all of our young guys up, and all of a sudden it all clicks at once. But that's just not how development works. It's different for every single player. But the next step in development for Kindel and Brunicke is playing some NHL hockey and making those debuts and getting those rookie laps at, of all places, the
Mhm.
world's most famous arena. And one other thing I just want to respond to really quickly before we move on. You said they're not going to win a lot of games. I don't know. I don't know. We have our prediction segment at the end, so stay tuned for that. That there's a little sneak peek as to
Mhm.
what it might be on my side of things. Let's talk a little bit about that season preview for the Pittsburgh Penguins because, well, it is preview and prediction season. And the biggest thing I want to ask you, Horwat, is what is the biggest question for the Pens going into the season? There are plenty to choose from. The left side of the defense is interesting. Caleb Jones playing alongside Chris Letang, that is a question mark. And that could be in the running for biggest question, no doubt about it. Will they, won't they? With big name trades. Rickard Rakell, Brian Rust, I think that's an option as well. Dan Muse, you have a new head coach, you have a new coaching staff. Of course, that's a big question. So, Horwat, of everything surrounding the Penguins heading into this season, what to you is the biggest question mark they have going into the year?
I'm gonna go with those will they, won't they on the trades.
Yeah.
That's part one of the question because part two can kind of be how committed to the rebuild are they in terms of how much are they digging out, how
Mm-hmm.
much of the dead weight or how much of the big names are they going to send away. And I think that boils down to which of the big names are getting moved, not when or if, but are they? Because
Yeah.
really, are they? We thought they were all going to happen this offseason. And yet here we go in 48 hours away from puck drop on a new season. And Karlsson, Rust, and Raquel are all
Mm-hmm.
still here.
Yeah.
So already the pacing of trades has been not what we expected, but
Mm-hmm.
there's still time for it. Let these guys prove that or show what they can do, be a bit more of a showcase for other teams, and let them come calling come deadline time, especially if the Penguins aren't winning.
Now, I don't remember how long ago this was, but I vaguely remember a Kyle Dubas press conference where he, in not so many words, again, paraphrasing, said, you can't do a tear it to the studs rebuild with the Penguins because the players here are just too good. Well, maybe when he was talking about that, he included guys like Raquel in his mind, guys like Rust in his mind, because we all assumed, okay, when he says that, he means Crosby, he means Malkin, he means Letang, because they're not going to trade those three guys. We just know that at this point, it's unlikely any of those three get traded. But maybe he was including guys like Rust and Raquel. Maybe he was including now a guy like Erik Karlsson. You can't tear it to the studs because the players here are just too good to garner trading them. And I think the question would become, can he backfill the organization with prospects fast enough to make it so that you don't have to trade away all of those pieces? Again, The answer remains to be seen, and I would be surprised if all three of those names that you mentioned are still on this roster come the deadline this year. But it is a huge question mark because if other things fall a certain way, you could argue, hey, you should keep those guys on because if certain things fall away, you might be able to sniff a playoff spot. And again, I'm previewing what's to come in our
Oh boy.
Penguins predictions, but if everything goes right and you hold on to these guys, this team is, to me, not a bottoming out team. So it's a huge question mark. I couldn't agree with you more, but it's not the biggest question mark. The biggest question mark to me, without a shadow of a doubt, is goaltending. Isn't it always, though, for the
Yeah,
Penguins?
that's why I avoided it. Because I thought of that too.
Yeah,
But I mean, come on, we're gonna have the conversation all year anyway.
we are, but to me, I can't get away from it because Tristan Jarry has not looked good. He has not. I mean, I said the best case scenario, I think this was 2 weeks ago on this podcast. I said the best case scenario for the Penguins as I move my cat out of the way. He's getting in my face. As I move him out of the way, the biggest question, he blocks the camera more than Tristan Jarry can block a shot.
Hey yo.
But, the best case scenario would have been Tristan Jarry stepping up in training camp and stealing this job. He hasn't done that, and yet he's still going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Partially because Joel Blomqvist got injured, partially because I think that's what was destined to happen. But he has not looked good, and there are major questions about him. And then even Artur Shilovs, who I really like, has questions about himself at the NHL level. So, while everybody wants to clamor for Sergei Murashov, it's not his time yet. And the people that we're left with, there's just a lot of questions as to what level they're going to play at.
Yeah. Yeah. I think regardless of injuries or output in the preseason and training camp, I would have been stunned had the Penguins gone into the year with Blomqvist and Murashov. Stunned.
Well, if it was those two, yeah. If it was those two in general, I would have asked who got hurt or what happened.
Exactly. That being said, I keep saying one of the three of Blomqvist, Murashov, and Shilovs, one of them has to hit. I do think one of them will. Heck, two of them might. Heck, all three of them might, and just one of them has to be on another team. And that's perfectly okay. Jarry, I think the confidence from the fan base, from me and from you probably, is just down and out. It's not game over for Tristan Jarry. Like you said, best case scenario would be he takes everything back. He takes the crease back. He finds what made him a two-time All-Star half a decade ago. But he hasn't. And now here we are going into another year. You mentioned what's, or at least I said the big name trades, what's going on there. Tristan Jarry's among that conversation.
He is.
And he has been. And that's not going to change anytime soon. So, yeah, I absolutely agree with you in that goaltending will once again be the biggest question. I just didn't want to bring it up because we bring it up every year and we're going to bring it up all year.
You're like, I have at least 75 hours of talking about Penguins goaltending ahead of me over the next 6 months. I didn't want to start it now.
Pretty much. And it's fine that we do it. It's because, again, that is the correct answer overall. It is where this team is going to probably live and die, honestly.
Yeah.
And we'll see where it goes. They have Murashov, who everyone is excited for. And I think moving him to the AHL to start is the right move.
I agree.
Bar none. That's the right move. Get him some more seasoning. Don't throw him to the wolves like they did with Blomqvist, who, by the way, still has time to prove himself as well. Yeah. So the Penguins, there's a lot there. I don't think any of it's bad, though. Is Tristan Jarry bad? Maybe. But I don't think this is a bad situation that the Penguins are in goaltending-wise. Again, they're not supposed to win this year, so if they're not getting saves, it's not the end of the world.
Now, you mentioned that it's not over for Tristan Jarry, and it's not. You're correct. But it kind of feels like it might be his last chance in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
With the way this season, I don't mean overall. Like, this season feels like, hey, it's put up or shut up, because even though the trade market might not be there for him, you look at the way the salary cap is moving. You look at the moves that Kyle Dubas is making. I mean, he just dumped Ryan Graves, that huge contract, into the AHL simply because why? Because they have the salary cap space to not worry about wasting $3 million in dead cap on Ryan Graves' contract. And I look at Tristan Jarry's buyout and I just say, man, after this year, that's very palatable if you're Kyle Dubas. And I hate to say that because I hate to see anybody get bought out because that just means that there was faith placed in them and they just weren't able to capitalize on it. But if there's faith based in them or placed in them, that means there was talent there. And I still believe there's talent there for Tristan Jarry. You haven't been able to find it, and it's unfortunate. But I'll read you off these numbers, and you let me know if it feels more realistic for a Jarry buyout after this season. Next year, it would be a $4.7 million cap hit. You'd save $600,000. The following year would be a $4.2 million cap hit. You'd save $1.1 million. And then you would only have to account for his money 2 more years at $458,000 apiece. That's very palatable if you're the Penguins looking to restart at the goaltending position.
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely it is. Because who knows where the Penguins want to be next year or the year after? You really don't know. It's tough. You think maybe on that second year is when everything starts to turn around again. They start to ramp up with going after buying at the deadline per se, or going out and getting a big free agent name. You got a million off from a goaltender you're not using, and then suddenly it's 400,000 the next season. Oh yeah, you take that every day, especially with the cap going up exponentially in that year specifically. That's crazy. That might just be what they do. Oh my goodness, I didn't think of that. That just might, maybe not exactly, but it's very, very, very likely when you see that sort of gap between the cap going up and the cap hit from Jarry.
Not to mention, and I have to double check this because I didn't think about this before, but doesn't the Jack Johnson buyout number fall off after this year?
Part of me thought it was already up, but you might be right. After this year, it's also gone.
Yeah, let me check our friends over at Puckpedia real quick because they are now the go-to. Yeah, you have 917,000 still of Jack Johnson that falls off after this year. So again, the Penguins historically not a franchise that likes buyouts. Kyle Dubas as a general manager historically not someone who likes buyouts, but in this instance, it's hard to not look at it as a possible solution. And I hate to say it, and I'm very much so hoping that it doesn't come to that, but you have to start looking at that as a reality in the next calendar year for the Penguins, especially if all goes well with Sergei Murashov next year or this year. It's going to be hard to deny him that starting spot next year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Like I said, one of those three has to hit, and they're going to hit soon if they do.
Yeah. Now let's finish off this episode with a couple more quick hitter predictions. There's one in here that's really fun that we haven't really done before because we really haven't had the amount of players that fall into the category that will this year. So I'm excited to get to that, but I want to start with bold predictions. Sometimes we do 3 or 4. This year, I'm only asking for 1 bold prediction from you, Nick Horwat.
It might not be that bold considering the conversation we just had, but I bet Erik Karlsson stays through the trade deadline. I bet we have this whole song and dance again next summer. The song and dance of this summer was nothing, but you get what I'm saying. The discussing of it at the beginning of the off season of, well, what teams would fit? What teams would consider taking him on? Another whole year off the deal? You wait for that one new extra payday to go by, and suddenly it's a easy move. But I don't know why, something about it seems he's sticking through another season. Again, we know Erik Karlsson trades would have to take time.
Yeah.
There hasn't been whispers yet.
Not
that the trade deadline is...
The only thing he heard from was the media in the summertime, not from anybody of actual credibility.
Yep. Not that...
As far as NHL sources are concerned,
of
I
course.
should say.
Yeah.
There are media members that have credibility.
Oh, absolutely. Not that the NHL trade deadline is right around the corner or anything.
No.
But... and things can change in the blink of an eye, but it seems unlikely that a Karlsson trade would happen in the blink of an eye. There's going to be some rumors, there's going to be some reports, some rumblings, if you will. None of that has started yet. So I just don't expect it to happen. Okay,
fair enough. I mean, hey, listen, at this point, there was serious question about whether or not the Penguins would have any Swedes on their roster when they headed over or when they went over to Sweden, as I try to get some actual grammar into this podcast. But now, as of right now, they have 3.
Well,
Rickard Rakell, Erik Karlsson, and don't forget, young Philip Hollander also on the roster now. So we have 3. You don't have to just lean on Philip Forsberg to to sell that in Sweden. But I like that bold prediction. And honestly, he looked good in preseason, man.
Oh boy.
Listen, I'm more hopeful than you maybe, but you never know. There's talent there.
Yeah,
There's talent there, and he can just turn it on as we saw at Four Nations. He can just turn it on in the blink of an eye.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he turns it on, and who knows? Maybe he sustains it a little bit more this year because Parker Wotherspoon is just, the magic partner that he's been looking for in Pittsburgh. But as far as bold predictions go, I like yours. Mine might be just a little bit bolder because I don't think as many people are going to believe in it. Evgeni Malkin will score over 70 points this season. He has not done that since the first year of his current deal. He had 83 points in 82 games 3 seasons ago. Last year was a little rough. 67 points, under 20 goals for the first time in quite some time. But let's not forget, he wasn't healthy. He had a revolving door of wingers. And now you look at it, and while, yes, they might be testing some certain guys out, I like him and Mantha together. I think that you could put those two as a pairing all season, and I think it will very much so help Evgeni Malkin. And something about there being a lot of young guys makes me think it's going to bring the best out in Evgeni Malkin. It just does, because he has this childlike exuberance to him all the time anyway. Surrounding him with actual children, I feel like is just going to make him even happier. And a happy Malkin is a dangerous Malkin when it comes to on the ice and what he's able to perform with. So I think if he stays healthy, and that's my only caveat here, I think he proves a lot of people wrong who think, hey, this is just going to be one for the Gipper for Evgeni Malkin. I think he's going to go out there and he's going to be a good player this year. And I think he's going to put up over 70. Just to remind everybody once again, stop doubting Evgeni Malkin.
Hey, you know what a hot start for Evgeni Malkin does? It's gonna light the trade rumors on fire.
Yeah, well,
talk
I've
about
learned
more
that trade rumors now are just whatever.
Woo! Yeah, talk about more trade rumors for the Penguins this year. I mean, not that one's gonna happen, but man, a hot start from Evgeni Malkin, and the Florida Panthers are looking for help.
But here's the thing: if he gets off to a hot start, the Penguins might not be in a position to want to trade people.
Yeah, no,
like that type of hot start where it would ignite trade rumors on fire. There's no way the Penguins aren't winning hockey games while he's doing that.
You would assume.
Yeah.
Then remember Tristan Jarry's in net.
Boy.
All right, I did it.
All right, well, with that, let's move off of bold predictions. Evgeni Malkin over 70 points is mine. Erik Karlsson remains on this roster is yours. This is the one I was excited to get into. Who's going to be the rookie scoring leader? Because now there could legitimately be multiple rookies that play over 60 games this year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, the year before that, and really the last half decade, it's been, well, rookie's going to play more than 5 games. That's the answer. But this year, you have options. You have Harrison Brunicke, who we talked about. You have Ben Kindel, who's starting the season, and who knows, could make his way up. But you have guys that got sent down this week that could come up and play significant minutes at the NHL level. Tristan Brose, Avery Hayes. There's a lot of options here. Rutger McGroarty, when he comes back, who's to say he isn't just going to be in an NHL spot for good now? So, rookie scoring leader, do you have a favorite?
I'm going to go Ville Koivunen.
Yes.
I
didn't want to say it was obvious and then you be like, well, I don't think it's quite obvious. So I wanted to make sure it was obvious to you too.
It's not obvious. I will give you that. Like, I did think about it. There are definitely the options, especially when you consider Rutger McGroarty trying to come back much better than what he was last year. Not that he was bad last year, but trying to come back with a full head of steam. Mm-hmm. Or anyone that could come up from the AHL later this season. Or what Ben Kindel can do. Like, there are options. Like, this isn't an open and closed case. But I just do think it's going to be the most likely option.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I don't think it's particularly close for a couple reasons. One, he's going to start in the top 6.
Yep.
He's going to have a spot on a power play, if not the top power play for the Penguins at times. And I think he's going to have a head start on a lot of these other guys. Yeah, you look at opening night, there's 3 rookies, but we're still having the conversation of, are those rookies going to be here after game 9? Whereas we know Ville Koivunen, if he's healthy, he's probably playing 82 games this year. Whereas who knows when Brose comes up? Who knows when McGroarty gets back onto the ice?
Yeah.
And I think we saw last year that while Rutger McGroarty is somebody who has a very bright future, Ville Koivunen seems more prepped to fill the back of the net and to fill the score sheet. Shoot, he had 7 points in 8 games last year, all 7 being assists,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. But the guy's a playmaker. He does have a lethal shot, so he's going to start capitalizing and scoring goals. I think there's more of a conversation to be had about the race for second place, because I think it could be Brunicke. I think it could be McGroarty. And then I think if they come up early enough, Bros and Avery Hayes could put their names into that basket. And if Ben Kindel sticks around, obviously he'll be there as well. I just, at the moment, have a hard time believing that he's going to survive the return of McGroarty and Brian Rust.
Yeah, he might not, and that's perfectly okay. But it could be a race for second. And you also just have to be mindful of playing the blue line for Brunicke. Like, exactly how many points is he going to put up from back there? Again, he may have offensive talent, but it's still tough when you are a rookie defenseman.
Second power play, though.
Second power play, yeah, absolutely. But with offensive-minded defensemen already everywhere, it's... I mean, heck, maybe the Penguins... Maybe everyone's rolling all cylinders, and the Penguins have the most lethal blue line in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tough. I do like Koivunen as an option, and I like I said, Brunicke being a secondary option as number 2 on that.
Yeah, the reason I would put him up there, I do think McGroarty's going to score a good bit. I just, again, McGroarty's injury is I'm not saying it's a phantom injury because it's a real injury, but you just don't know what it is. You don't know the severity. You don't know the timeline, and you also don't know how long it's going to take him to ramp up because he missed all of training camp. So he's going to need to ramp up and get into game action, not to mention the fact that this is a kid who's still adjusting to the NHL game. So I think Brunicke has a leg up on McGroarty in that instance. And on that third pairing, if it does remain Matt Dumba, Harrison Brunicke's going to be the guy toting the puck. He is going to be the guy setting things up. So he has a chance to not only score goals like we saw on Friday, not only make nice setup passes and get assists, but a lot of those first passes out of the defensive zone could turn into secondary assists, and he could start collecting them a lot quicker than you expect. So I don't know. This is going to be a fun race to watch this year. And I'm excited that we get layers of exciting prospect hockey to watch. We have the guys at the NHL level, which is so exciting, but you also still have a very good crop of guys at Wilkes-Barre. And then, as we've already seen, I mean, the 2025 draft class, early returns. But have you seen what Will Horkov is doing up there in Michigan?
Looking good.
I'm telling you, Bill Zonen's going to have a phenomenal year too, once he gets healthy. So we have so much to look at and so much to watch as far as prospect hockey is concerned. I'm excited that a lot of that is going to be at the NHL level, though.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
All right, we got 2 more to get to here. Where will the Penguins finish in the division? I'll go first on this one. I know I've sounded very bullish on the Penguins' chances this year, and I think this is a bullish prediction. 5th in the division is where I think they'll finish. But I think there might be a chance, if all things go well, particularly goaltending, they have a chance at 4th.
Ooh, that's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Is that now?
Do you want to know the breakdown of it? Is that why you're saying? Is that, I mean?
No, I'm just looking at the rest of the Eastern
Metro.
Conference. Well, yes, the Metro, but also the East as a whole, and going, you're saying 4th for the Metro. So you're saying 5 Atlantic teams are going to make the playoffs again? Or are the Penguins making the playoffs in this simulation?
I think they are in, if they finish where I'm putting them, I think they will be in contention for the playoffs.
Whoa. Way higher than what I had them then.
Probably. Yeah. The way I look at the Metro going into this season, just one man's opinion. Mm-hmm. Carolina, New Jersey, and Washington, specifically Carolina, New Jersey, I think are top 3. Washington, I don't know if last year was real or if it was just a lightning rod built off of the great chase to Wayne Gretzky's record, but I do think they're a good enough team to still be at the top of the division. The Rangers, I would say, are probably at 4, but also you look at that roster and, man, is it not as good as it used to be?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing about the Rangers is I do think there's a bump there because of Mike Sullivan. Because that team failed to meet expectations because of the chaos off the ice. Mike Sullivan will not put up with chaos off the ice. They've also eradicated a lot of that chaos, right? He put his guy in place in JT Miller.
Yeah.
He's a no-nonsense type of head coach. That nonsense has kind of dragged them down. Now, do I think their roster is as strong as it was whenever that nonsense was dragging them down? No, you still have Vincent Trocheck as your top line center at the moment. But I do think that with that and good goaltending, that's a team that I could see definitely making the playoffs. Not to mention, and I saw this today when I was thinking of this prediction and looking at all the teams in the Metro, we might see former buddy Connor Sherry on the in the lineup on Tuesday. Did you know that Connor Sherry was in Rangers camp on a PTO? Because of course he is, because Mike Sullivan is fiercely loyal to that 2016-17 squad, and Sherry apparently has had a good preseason, so we might be seeing Connor Sherry on opening night.
I did know he was there, and you know what? Mike Sullivan is nothing if not consistent.
What a treasure that man is.
Good for him, man. Good for Connor Sherry, too. And
I mean, here's the thing. After a year where Connor Sherry played 5 games, literally, you can count them on one hand, 5 games at the NHL level by the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then was sent down to the Syracuse Crunch for the rest of the season, basically not thought of again. And then they mutually parted ways, basically being like, Connor, I don't want to be here. I want to play in NHL hockey. And Tampa being like, yeah, please leave. Like, yeah, go. Like, yeah, it's best for you. It's best for us. Go. And of course, it's Mike Sullivan, who we always talk about. If you earn his trust, he will be loyal to you forever.
Oh, will he?
How many years has it been? And he is still loyal to Connor Sherry.
Yep.
The 33-year-old, which he never looked and still doesn't look like he should ever be over 30.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be interesting. I'm putting a lot more into the Rangers this season than I did last year. The nonsense is gone. I think Mike Sullivan's going to lock that room in. I really do. I don't think the lineup's great, but I think they're going to figure it out along the way.
So with that said, where the Pens finishing in the division this year, according to you?
According to me, I'm going to go 7th again.
Oh,
sorry.
It hurts.
It does. Listen, Kyle Dubas is going to spend a lot of time in Happy Valley this year.
I will too.
I am going to try to. Kyle Dubas is going to spend a lot of time in Happy Valley this year. Not that he's going to try and make this team lose.
No.
You look at how good the rest of the league and the division kind of is. It's going to be tough for the Penguins to stack up with that. For the Penguins with Tristan Jarry in net, with unproven faces and those rookies in the lineup for a little bit. Again, like they're doing really well. Doesn't mean they're going to continue. They will. I think they will, but you never know. Like I said, I'm going to give the Rangers a lot of credit this year. I think Washington's going to fall off quite a bit, but still kind of hold on enough because of Ovechkin. Listen, Carolina just has to get it done in the playoffs. We know they're going to get there. Easy as that.
Yeah.
The Devils will probably straighten it out this year if they can keep Jack Hughes healthy. I'm going to give the Blue Jackets a ton of credit too. Last year was a bit of lightning in a bottle and a bit of playing with a lot of weird feelings and a lot of trying to win for Johnny Gaudreau. But I think now it is the realization of, holy heck, we can do this.
Yeah.
They're going to really go off this. I also like Greaves and net for them. I think the Blue Jackets is going to be a playoff team and a really good playoff team at that.
Wow.
I already said the Rangers. The Islanders are going to be questionable. I don't know. They could go any way, any which way, even with Matthew Darche, new front office face. They could pick it up. If Matt Barzal stays healthy and finds his game again, that's a good team. I don't know about a playoff team, but at least a good team again. And I just don't know what's going on in Philly. I really don't. Rick Tocchet there. That's going to be entertaining. Trevor Zegras is going to be really good there, reawoken. Maybe the Penguins finish 8th as I talk myself through this, but I don't think they're going to be. I think the Flyers and the Penguins are going to be just battling it out down there again. But also the Flyers could be good. Man, this division's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it is a wild division. I think there's going to be a lot of parity once again in the Eastern Conference, as there's no, outside of the Florida Panthers, there's no real like super juggernaut in the East, right? There's certainly not one in the Metro Division. I mean, you look at Carolina and you say, wow, regular season beast, but outside of that, it's up for grabs. There's a lot of, if Jack Hughes can stay healthy.
Yes.
If the Columbus Blue Jackets young players can carry over what they did last year, if Washington's style of play and Logan Thompson is able to repeat his performance. There's a lot of ifs, and there's a lot of ifs with the Penguins too. But all I'm saying is in this season where anything can happen, where we haven't played a singular second of NHL hockey, if is good. If is good. Because if gives the Penguins a window into being better than expectations are this year. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question becomes, to close this out, doesn't have to be a long answer. I think I know yours. Will the Penguins make the playoffs? Horwat, I'm imagining if you think they're going to be 7th or 8th in division, then the answer is clearly no.
No, we're going to be watching the draft lottery so closely this year. I think I really do. I'm sorry. I just keep an eye on those lottery balls, guys.
It's weird because I've been so positive. I think you'd agree with that. I've been very positive on this episode when it comes to season predictions.
Mm-hmm.
To close it all out with saying, no, they're not going to make the playoffs. But
the Atlantic's weird.
As of right now, there's not enough proof of concept for me to say, yeah, the Penguins can be a playoff. The Penguins, not for me to predict the Penguins to make the playoffs. Could they be a playoff team? Potentially. Yeah. But I'm not going to sit here before the season starts and be able to confidently say, yes, I will predict the Penguins to make the playoffs. So as of right now, my prediction is no, and I am looking forward to being proven wrong.
Okay.
Spin zone once again.
I'm looking forward to entertainment all season. This team may not be good. They might be bad, or they might not be bad either. But you know what? One way or the other, we're going to be entertained all year long. That's the one thing I keep telling people.
That's the cardinal rule of the Penguins, though. Even when they were bad, they were entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The last 3 years, they haven't made the playoffs. Last year, they missed by a country mile.
They made it interesting that first year.
They were yes. But what were they? They were entertaining. They're always entertaining. So we're going to be entertained. We're ready to be entertained starting on Tuesday night at Madison Square Garden. But that's going to do it for this episode of Tip of the Ice-Burgh. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this one. Remember, you can find us on YouTube at Tip of the Ice-Burgh, or you can catch us anywhere you get your podcast from. We'll see you guys next time.